I get asked quite a bit, what's a good formation to use? And you know what, 90% of the time I actually tell me more than anything. So, usually this kind of conversation happens at the start of FIFA, sometimes it kind of happens in the middle, but we are on the tail end. And this is a formation which I've just found brilliant. It's not every single formation that I've used this FIFA out of the water. It's not a way to put it. And that's what we're going to be doing for you guys today, right? We're going to be taking the 4-2-3-1 formation, which was recommended by you in one of my Blackburn Rovers Crew Mode videos. Make sure you go check out that series if you are yet to do so. And it was recommended by you to check out and use. And in that series, it is a cracker. What we're going to do for you guys today is actually break that formation down. We're going to tell you the good things about it, how the formation works, how the players move, and also a few downsides and actually how to overcome them as well. Okay, so to actually start off with, let's just talk about the formation in general. So you've got your normal 4 at the back for defenders, which is absolutely fine. And then what we're going to have, you've got 2 CDMs, which feature here. And then you've got 3 central attack midfielders and a single striker. A lot of you might be thinking that a single striker might not suit you, but hey, this is really not a single striker formation. Once we get further along in the video, I'll explain a little bit more about that. But as I mentioned, you've got your 2 CDMs, which we're going to talk about in a few moments, trying to get yourself a good little bit of balance. Then you've got a left central attack midfielder and a right attacking midfielder, as well as your centre mid and your striker. The last time I used a formation like this was in FIFA 2010 in the World Cup game. Used to have the left attack midfielder and the right attack midfielder slightly further up the field, but this time don't have to do that change. It works brilliant with it. So first things first, let's go on into the actual defence. So the defence is your standard defence, nothing to really scream about. You've got your 4 at the back defenders. You've got your left back, centre back 1, centre back 2, and your right back. So with this particular formation, what you're actually going to be finding straight off the bat, and you'll notice if you're not really the best defender, your left back and right back are going to be overrun quite often. The reason for that is because your left attack midfielder and right attack midfielder are more into the centre a bit more compared to what they would be if this was a 4, if they were playing on the wing, for example. So what tends to happen quite often, this is what you will experience right off the bat, is that you will have attackers charge quite often down here. And that basically, what issue you will experience is that this defender, which is your left back or your right back, tends to get pulled out a little bit here. And it'll be the same down the alternative side as well. So this tends to happen only because there is... normally, when you have your attacker, your wingers usually bound by here, I would say. But what tends to happen is that they are by here in this particular formation. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen to kind of cause a few little issues for you. So that little space there is causing this defender to kind of come out quite a bit. So you will experience quite a lot of crosses, because we'll talk about this in a few moments' time, but these centre-backs don't really do much work. But you will experience quite a lot of crosses in this game, so expect the ball to go down the wing quite often compared to down the middle, because you've got a lot of players already in there. Anyway, that's something to actually bear in mind. So, when you're actually signing players, you really need to take consideration of your left back and your right back. So you might already have a good left back and a good right back in this actual side, but you want to see someone with actually decent pace and actual positioning. If they're not really up there, you're going to kind of struggle. The same with stamina as well. Stamina, I kind of look for every so often. As long as they got 70 or so, I'm not too bothered. Depending on the position, I tend to lower it down. But in these particular positions, your wing backs, you do want to play with high stamina, because they are probably going to be going up and down quite a lot more often than they would in any conventional formation. But anyway, how do you overcome that? What is the alternative? So let's just say you don't have the budget. You don't have the budget to figure out, I want the best player ever in these wing back positions. How do you actually overcome the bombardment of crosses? Because what could just simply happen, you might have the best defender there in the world, but this attacker is completely come down here and caught this guy completely off guard. And then all of a sudden, let's just say this is a goal, the ball comes into the box and potentially someone scored a header. So how do you actually overcome that potential issue, which is going to happen? There's going to be a lot of crosses. And this is how you do it. I'm going to explain to you it now. When your crosses are actually coming in, these two centre-backs here, you want particular traits that you want to actually have on them. So you are going to be looking around 6'2" as a minimum requirement, which is absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you can see that. But 6'2" is going to be absolutely brilliant to win the header on the ball. You want to play with good agility. I'll just put AG. Good agility, that means they can actually move around quite often. They need to twist and turn. They have that ability to do that. And you want someone with, which is quite standard for a centre-back, decent jumping stats. And the reason for that decent jumping stats is simply because when these ball comes in, 9% of the time, you're either, if your player hasn't got good agility, he's going to be headering it this way. So out towards the byline, behind the goal. However, if they have good agility, the player twists and the ball heads back out that way, which is what you want to try and achieve. And that's why you need these particular traits to actually be getting there. The problem that you will find is that if you do have a player under 6'2", 6'1" on a cuff, anything lower than that, you will find quite often that the ball, as it comes in, dips a little bit just above that other defender, which then causes the attacker to come through the defence, and you completely pulled it open and you've conceded a goal. So, something to keep in mind there, 6'2", good agility, good balance, you got yourself some good defenders there in our actual centre-back position to keep yourself nice and covered. And of course you want to try and improve your left wing back and right back, but if you haven't got the money for that, make sure you just improve these two centre-backs to actually begin with, because it's kind of have a solid defence. And the two centre-backs, the reason for that is because if they do try to come down in the middle, then you're covered no matter what. So, something to actually bear in mind it with your actual defence. This has only ever happened once to me, where I've conceded from a cross, because what happened was, this is how the attack scenario went. This player got pulled out, lost the tackle, went too far the field. This defender came out, this defender came across, and this guy was nowhere to be seen. Simple as that. And what happened was the attacker came running here. That's where the attacker was. And all of a sudden they were on the back stick and this guy just came in too late. He was just way too late. So something to actually bear in mind there. So that is actually something to actually bear in mind there with your actual defence. So make sure you actually improve those two centre-backs. Make sure you got the basic traits of a centre-back. 6'2" should actually do the job for you to defend against those crosses. But you might be wondering, right, okay, my defence is completely overrun. What am I going to do? But one of the benefits of this formation, unlike the others, yes, you are going to be experiencing a lot of crosses. However, the middle is going to be completely jam-packed and you're not going to concede down the middle. It'll be very rarely that will happen. You have to be completely caught off guard for it to happen. I don't think I've ever been caught on a counter-attack. Let's just say that, for example. Now let's move on to that midfield, which is kind of where the jam-packedness comes into it. We're going to talk about the CDMs to actually begin with. So, we've got two CDMs. I'm going to draw in the defence for the time being, just to show you how this actually works. So, of course, we've got our left back, our two centre-backs, and our right back, and then we've got a CDM, and we've got another CDM. So, with these particular CDMs, what I tend to do quite often is give a little bit of a balance. So, one of them tends to be CDM, and the other one tends to be more of an attacking midfield, more of a central midfielder, so not necessarily an attacking one, but one who can actually ping the ball quite well, maybe win the ball a little bit more, but just a little bit of balance. Because the reason for that is because when you win the ball here, which will happen quite often, so let's just say this is that's the edge of the box, you are going to be winning the ball quite often in that area here, which is just in the middle of the second third and the first third, you are going to be winning the ball quite often in there. So one of the things you need to really consider when you are winning the ball that often is that, of course, you've got the good defender, which is going to win the ball, but you're also going to need someone who can actually ping the ball quickly out of their feet. So that's something to bear in mind when you're actually signing players. So one of the biggest perks with this actual formation, unlike any other formation that you might consider using, is that these two CDMs do not move. They're very good at passing. They can easily get the ball out of the box. And also, they do not let overrunning of the defence in the middle, which is brilliant. Because one of the biggest issues you tend to find sometimes is that a lot of, even if you're playing as the AI or even if you are playing online, is that if you do get overrun a little bit, the EA will let the attacker aware of that. The opportunities will arise for them, because in traditional formations where you might only have one CDM, he might lose, it pulls one of these forward, is a simple natural thing. However, with these two there, that won't happen. Be very rarely that happens in this particular formation. So what you'll actually find with it is that you win the ball and you can pass the ball out quite easily from the back out to the wingers, well, your left attack midfielders and your right attack midfielders, or even down the middle to orchestrate and a counter attack, because you've got a lot of attackers on your side. So that's it with the central defensive midfielders. Just something to bear in mind. Consider getting a player who's slightly better at passing and one which is slightly better at defending, just so you have a really nice bit of balance. But do not go for an attack midfielder and a CDM. Make sure it's a max of a central mid or two CDMs which have good passing. So bear that in mind. Rightio, let's get rid of this. Let's talk about now, we're in the final third, which is the biggest important part of the pitch, which is in the halfway point. So we're going to talk about now, we've got our central attack midfielder, left attack midfielder, and our right attack midfielder. We'll put in our striker there, just for a nice little measure there. Let's colour these in. So, one thing that I'm going to tell you right now, which is super important, this formation does not work unless you've got a good player in that central attack midfielder role. And I'll tell you for a fact why. Because this central attack midfielder is going to be getting the majority of your goals, but you don't want a striker there. That's going to be one of your biggest flaws if you do. So you want a player who's actually really good at 1-2 football and can easily finesse the ball quite in. Because this is what will happen quite often with the formation. Let's just say your CDMs win the ball here at the halfway. The ball pings out to the left attacking midfielder. Particular attacking scenarios that you might run down here, and then what will tend to happen is this attacking midfielder will go here, the ball will pass back there, this attacking midfielder will ping, the strikers move forward a little bit, he will ping the ball there. He has two options. He's either through on goal, which doesn't tend to happen, but as he gets the ball, this attacking midfielder runs there into open space, ball passes across, and it goes into the back of the net. So it's a very similar attacking scenario, which will happen quite often, whether it's down this side or that side. But another perk with this attacking scenario that you'll find is that in a very similar situation to this particular attacking scenario is this guy. Is this lonely right attacking midfielder, or even a left attacking midfielder, depending what side you're attacking on. This guy, let's just say, obviously we know this is the goal, this is the box. This guy comes running in back stick. Every single time, guaranteed, will find space in this particular area of the actual box, which is super important. And this is the reason why it's super important and why it works so brilliantly with this formation, unlike others. One of the reasons it works absolutely brilliantly is the fact that all these players are attacking forward and you have multiple options and opportunities to actually score. This is what this formation creates. Unlike other formations, let's say a 4-3-3, what tends to happen is these guys are too far out wide, so you can't actually give them the ball to get into the box quick enough. However, with this particular attacking scenario, you have an opportunity to score with your striker, you have an opportunity to score with your cam, and you have an opportunity to score with this particular attack midfielder. So you have 3 opportunities to score when you're on the attack, unlike a usual one, which might actually happen in a majority of scenarios. So that's something to bear in mind when you're attacking, is that, okay, I've got multiple situations, I can take my time and pass out a little bit further and even slot it in a bit more easier than I normally would. Okay, so that is the attack, and I want to talk a bit more. I will talk about the left midfielders, the strikers and everything in a few months' time, but I want to go in a bit more detail about this central attacking midfielder. If you are yet to check out the Blackburn Rovers career mode, in this central attacking midfielder role, we have Goalazio. Is a 67 rated player, but has a few key stats which make him stand out brilliantly, as his pace, agility, balance, his finishing's half decent, he has good skill moves, so you know what, he's standing out from the crowd quite easily. This particular type of midfielder does make or break your actual side. I've had players in that particular role, such as Bradley Dack, Miller, who's been in the Rovers career mode, who was a youth academy prospect, and it just doesn't work for them. Something just doesn't tick. Because one of the things you really need in there is someone with really high agility. That ability to just turn on the ball, pass it off whenever they want, and get to the next stage quite easily while pushing forward. The problem that you have with some central attack midfielders is that they can't control the ball as easy. So you pass the ball in, they try to turn, the striker's already gone. That doesn't help, he's too far away. You want someone who can turn quite quickly. And this particular player here, the attack midfielder, will make or break that side. So if you haven't got someone with that, you are going to struggle to score quite often. And that's the reason why. And this is the reason why. Because if you don't have the correct player in that position, the striker goes too far forward, so you've completely had it there. And then what happens here, you can't play the 1-2 football that I've just mentioned to create those free chances. What tends to happen is that the central attack midfielder will become very isolated. You have the two defenders, and basically it looks like a Mickey Mouse. In essence, they get compressed up really quickly, and then all of a sudden they can't get the ball out, and they've got to go back to their central defensive midfielders and try a completely different route, which is something you don't want to be doing too often. But if you've got the right player in that position, which in my opinion, if you're looking for someone, as I just mentioned, good agility, good balance, good pace. You also look finishing, not so much, but a bit of skill moves will do the job absolutely perfectly for you. So make sure you get yourself some really good attacking midfielders in your actual side. So you might be asking the question now, what about the ones on the right and the left? I'll tell you. So, ones on the right and the left is an opportunity for you to experiment. This is the fun with the side as well. It's like, oh, you don't have to improve in every single position. It doesn't really matter. But one of the things here is that you'll have your central attack midfielder, you have a left one and a right one, and that's your striker. This is your key position. This is the key one that you need to go right. You spend some money and you make sure I find someone that can work there. But these ones, experiment. That's an opportunity for you, which is what I love with this formation, is that you can just trial one or two players and go, okay, you were... Like, we were trying Braff down this side. Works brilliantly as an impact sub, but doesn't work as a starting 11. Don't know why, it just doesn't. But yeah, now we have Miller, who just simply, he's there to orchestrate the play. He's there for 1-2 football. Other than that, he doesn't do too much. And what might happen is if we're attacking down this side and the ball falls this side, he might get himself 1 or 2 goals, which is brilliant. So, something to actually bear in mind there. So think about it, experiment with the right attack midfielders, and that'll work absolutely brilliant for you. So let's have a quick chat about the striker. So your striker, right, is a position which is very similar to that cam position. It's a player which can take the ball in, turn, pass it off, 1-2 football, quite a quick agility football. So for example, in my Blackburn Rovers career mode, I've got Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong is very similar to Marco Rojas, a lot higher rated though, can easily get the ball and then ping it back, and he's simply space galore. One of the things you will need to realise here is that you're very, very unlikely to do a lot of crossing football. So one of the things I would really consider is a player with a medium height, not too tall, under 6 foot, absolutely fine, but with decent pace again, and those agility movements very similar to the cam position that we mentioned with Marco Rojas. Let's just put these in here. That's going to be my right attacking midfielder. So you want a player in that striker role which can control the ball, pass it off quite easily. You're then not going to be a top goal scorer. That's something to actually just bear in mind there. So when you think about it, like, you need to think of more of, right, when I spend my money, do I need to fork out a load of money? Are they going to be able to pass the ball off quite easily? That'll work really well for you. But then again, like I mentioned with that, they want to be able to pass the ball off quite easily. But what they can do is a player that can score quite frequently, because what happens is, as I mentioned a few moments ago, is that you are going to have 3 goal scoring opportunities on near enough every single attack that you will have. First one is with this guy, he's number 1. Second's with this guy, and the thirds leave with these guys. So that's just something to actually bear in mind there, is that when a player playing that through ball, does he have a chance to actually cut in and shoot, or can he actually cut in and pass the ball back to tick-a-tacker it? Does that work? Does he have those abilities to do that? So something to actually bear in mind there. And as well as I mentioned, you don't have to worry about the crosses. 90% of the time, what's going to be happening with the formation is that even if you do run down the wing, every time you're going to come back in, it just looks like this. It looks like an N. You cut out, you come back in, come back into the middle, come back into the middle, pass into the box, and then that comes back across and it slots into the back net. That tends to happen majority of the time. You might cross it in occasionally, but it's very unlikely that you are going to be playing that style of football. So the style of football that tends to really win it is that you're going to have a very heavily based midfield. So your midfield's going to win the ball quite often, and then all of a sudden you're going to play and pass the ball around quite frequently, waiting for those channels to open, and then get the ball into the middle of the box and into the back of the net. But the thing is, though, when you do it that way, you are going to be creating a lot of chances, which is brilliant. So expect to be scoring quite a lot of goals, and expect to break down defences quite easily. So, guys, that is the formation breakdown. I hope it all kind of makes sense. It's kind of very straightforward, explaining how the formation works quite often. But, of course, you do have a couple of downsides with this formation, which is mainly holding in the defensive area, that you might potentially be overrun because of the lack of left midfielders and right midfielders. But it does work brilliantly that if you do sign a few players, that you can actually strengthen this side up quite well and have a really good balanced side. But of course you can overcome that with a good set of centre-backs to actually win the headers that are coming into the crosses that are coming into the box, so you can win those quite easily. A strong centre midfield pairing can easily win the ball, and you play from that area every single time. A lot of the time you might catch them on the counter, but you want a good balance here, and the formation will work brilliantly to actually set up these three attacking midfielders there. But your attacking play does end up sticking very samey as you end up playing. You can change it up a little bit, but you are going to be looking to kind of play it out to the wing, come back into the middle, to the striker, back to the cam, into the box, into the goal even, I should say. And then this central attack midfielder is going to be one of your top goal scorers, a top assistants for your actual side, which is super, super brilliant. And yeah, it's exciting actually, because I didn't expect that to happen. So when I actually found a player that works in that position, turned the team around. The problem, like I mentioned, if you don't have that right person, this formation just won't click. But you just need to find that player, and then the formation will click brilliantly. So yeah, that's how the formation plays. You can do a lot of variety of playing styles with it. But if you are into that passing type playing style, you're happy to play from the back to there, back into the middle, slot it in. And the thing is, though, just to kind of mention, I know some of you might try love long shots as an example. What tends to happen when the striker pushes forward, this particular area, which just is outside the box, tends to become a little bit more open than normal. So depending on your timing of the passing, that area does open up a little bit. So something to actually bear in mind, a lot of variety, but if you all want to play passing football, this formation works for you. But anyway, my name is Goalazio. Thanks for watching. That's formation breakdown of the 4-2-3-1. I don't know what that one was, but yeah. That is the formation breakdown of that. If you want to see any other formations, let me know in the comment section below. But I have to say, highly recommend this if you are trying to still find a formation. And even if you want to just consider it for FIFA 22, it's a formation to consider because it works brilliantly and I can't see why it wouldn't. But yeah, anyways, my name is Goalazio. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy it and you are yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Check it out.